Hey Matrix Live, I'm here today with the iOS team, or at least part of it. We have, looking at the way I can see it, it is David, Stefan, and Douglas. Hey, or Doug,
Hello.
I should say.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so you are a part of the iOS team at Element, which has been expanding. So the iOS team has grown. I think it's like 6 people now, of which you are some of the newest. Should we just go around and do some hello? So David, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah. So I've only been in Element now for kind of 2.5 months. I've been an iOS engineer for about, I don't know, 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, kind of worked across a few different types of apps, kind of bigger companies, done my own startup. So
10 years is a very long time for iOS, do you think?
yeah, definitely. It's come a long way. It's like every few years they cut off a chunk of crap that you don't have to deal with anymore, and it's
Right.
progressively been turning into a much better development experience.
And on that subject, we're going to come back to this, but on that subject, you've been leading the charge on the SwiftUI work. But yeah, let's come back to that.
Yeah.
Stefan, what have you been doing? And hello.
Hey, I'm Stefan. Nice to meet everybody. I'm Stefan. I'm Romanian. I'm from this city called Iași on the border of Romania, and I've been an iOS developer for 12 years, I think, since 2008. I started my career as an iOS developer.
Gracious.
And like Dave, I was that's what
like,
I meant.
Was
10
that
years.
like
Pretty good.
version one of
Yeah.
iOS then?
Yes, version one. Yeah, it came out like the spring before I started working. It wasn't by choice. It was just that's the job I happened to get when I got out of uni. But I was lucky, and I got to work on big and small projects, on games and stupid apps and large corporate apps. So it's
So I
been
want to
fun.
say then, you don't know any better. iOS is your world.
I did try being a backend developer for a while, and I
Okay.
hated it. I
All
needed the UI work.
You're all right. You're an iOS purist at this point, then, if you've done all that. Hey, Doug, what about you?
Hello. So I'm Doug. I'm in the UK, and I started with iOS development in about 2012, 2013, I think. But for me, it's always been my side projects, and I've now been with Element for about 2 months, which is my first job actually doing development full time.
Yeah.
So,
What were you doing before?
so previously I was an audiovisual technician doing sound and lighting and projection for live events.
That's
So
cool.
complete shift for me.
So how? Yeah, it is a little bit of a shift. But you said that you were doing hobbyist stuff before. Did you find a way to combine those things?
Yeah, so it was, I suppose a lot of it was like scratch your own itch type stuff. Like, I wanted an app to do this or an app to do that at work or even just at home. And so I would spend time making them, and I made some audio playback apps, which then I would use at work, and just sort of improve, streamline the workflow of what we were doing. So
Right. Cool. So these are apps with a really narrow focus, but hyper deep design for your exact needs. All right, that's cool. Yeah. Man, 2 months of since a job switch. All right, that's a really exciting time in life, isn't it?
yeah, definitely, yeah.
So you're somebody that we should say, how's your time at Element been? Let's go back in reverse order. How have you found it since you've started working here?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. There was obviously a lot to take in to begin with, but I think that's expected when you've got a complete career change.
Right.
But everyone's been really supportive, really friendly and welcoming, and yeah, it's a lovely place to work.
Yeah, I think so too. Stefan, what's been your experience?
It was great, to be honest. It's the first full remote company I get to work with, and when I started, I got dropped into the harder stuff. I was supposed to rewrite the logging platform, right? And I had to jump into everything, and there's a lot of things you got to take in. But again, yeah, everybody was so nice and so helpful.
That's
And
interesting.
It's
You
a
brought
really
up
nice place.
Yeah, you brought up the remote work. So were you always
Yes.
going to offices in your? Sorry, I've forgotten the name of your town.
In Romania, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, well, no. When I started working, I was working here remotely for local companies, and then I moved to London, and I got to work from London for a British company for a while, and then I moved back home and I started remoting for that company.
I see.
And I've been doing that for about 4 years, and then I joined Element.
Gotcha,
But
remote
it wasn't.
work.
Yeah, that company wasn't a remote first company, and you could see it, right? Because it was not built like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a lot easier.
So Element is remote first, but we're sort of forced into being remote by, first of all, we make a communications product. It would be crazy for us to not embrace remote work, but at the same time, just globally distributed. I think we've got somebody in most time zones, and it feels weird sometimes when you're just totally remote. I mean, actually, right now I'm at the office. David, what about you? You're a veteran, I think, but where in the world are you, and how did you find Element?
I'm in Ireland, and I was just kind of I'd done my own startup last, and was kind of on the job hunt for something new, and I mean, it just spoke to me totally as soon as I discovered Element. I think I love kind of media rich. I've worked on kind of like a meetings type application before, so I love that kind of live, really media rich apps. And the products seem to be really kind of forward looking, something that's really gonna, I think, stand the test of time. And then just, I don't know, really cool tech in terms of P2P mesh networks, all that kind of stuff. Who wouldn't want to jump into that stuff? So really interesting product. Do
you want to share anything about your startup? You don't have to if it's recent, but if you wanted to promote it.
It's nothing major secret. It was actually a golf app to help people improve their golf game.
Right.
Keen golfers. So
using the gyroscope.
Not using a gyroscope. It's actually trying to use ML to do a bunch of stuff to help you train and improve your game. Depending on what level you're at, and also just going to have fun as well.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a scratch your own itch kind of question. But did it work? Did the ML work?
It's still work in progress. It does work, but the core piece behind it all is still work in progress. Yeah.
Super. All right. That sounds great. So I guess the other kind of obvious question, we've kind of leaned into it a little bit with the how did you discover Element? Did anybody discover Matrix before Element, or were you coming? You did? Oh, cool. Yeah. Why don't you talk about that?
I did. I was the way I got to Element it's a funny story, because I didn't know about Element before I went and looked for apps that merge multiple messaging platforms together, and I found Beeper. And then from Beeper, I noticed that, hey, this thing is powered by Matrix. What is Matrix, right? And I looked at it, pretty cool. Yeah. And a couple of weeks later, a recruiter reached out to me and asked me do you want to get a job at Element? Element, that sounds familiar, right? And then that's how I got to learn about everything. It was, it was meant to be, I guess.
I find that really funny that you discovered Beeper first, presumably because they had a PR buzz near the time.
Yeah, I think it was Twitter or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Beeper's a cool project too. They're doing really interesting things, and I'm thrilled to say about them. They love to contribute back, so it's a really healthy open source relationship there, and I'm really happy to be able to promote them. What about you, Doug?
So in a slight twist, I discovered Matrix through you, Ben.
Yeah.
So we've been friends for quite a long time, and obviously when you started working, I discovered that it was a thing, and we started chatting on it, and I sort of learned about its existence that way, and very quickly favored it as a platform for messaging, just because of I like the fact that it's open, and that you're not forced into the same app, or I just like that it's almost like I see it like email but for messaging.
Yeah,
and that's really appealing to me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you for a long time now, you've been one of the people that I talk to. You are probably the most forward in saying that siloed applications and siloed communications and anything that captures your data and then doesn't let you work with it and or mines it for advertising. You're one of the most vocal people I know on that topic, so that's interesting that it ended up that I introduced you to the solution.
Yep.
So it's a little bit of reciprocity there. Great. All right. I mean, we're all happy about Matrix. What about iOS? What are you guys working on? Doug, we'll go back up this track again. What are you doing? What are you working on for Element?
So for the last couple of months, I'm looking at various paper cuts in the iOS app. So I've just got a list that I'm sort of working through, and that's been everything from small tweaks to the UI that just are a bit dated or maybe slightly broken here or there, or improving things like the content on notifications when they come through. And at the moment, I'm working on like URL previews in the timeline.
Nice. Can we talk about notifications? Because this is something I want to learn more about as well. If there's an E2E message, if there's an E2E room and it's sent, message is sent, how do you display the preview for that notification? How can you access it if it didn't come through the cloud? So
I haven't done much of this, but we receive we receive a push notification from Apple, which gives us the event ID that we need to show the content for. We then can go away and fetch the contents of that event
from the app locally.
No, we have to actually get it from because the app's not running in the background, so we actually have to go and grab it from the cloud, or from the home server, and process it that way.
Gosh, okay. So do you end up with you have a message, but I'm going to go and find out what it is? Is that the scenario? Okay.
Yeah, and so there's it all happens in like an extension of the app, which has severe memory constraints on it and time limits on it. So we can time out and all run out of memory in these operations, in which case we're forced to display whatever the notification content was that we received from Signal.
Right. Okay. So you need a good string in there to begin with. Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. Right. Which was originally just said message. And so we've updated that recently so that it now says notification, which happens to just match what it shows you on the lock screen if the phone is still locked.
I see.
So it doesn't feel quite so weird that you've just gone from a notification to some message, which probably isn't a message.
Yeah. So, and you only get one chance to do that update. Can you, if it fails and you time out or something, can you retry, or are you just limited now? So you can't do anything until the next time you open the app, I suppose. Right.
Yeah, we can dismiss ones. So I think what tends to happen is if we were not sure about what the content of a notification should have been, then the next time a notification comes in, we'll dismiss the previous one.
Got you. Yeah, so you end up with stacked notification. Yeah, okay. Actually, it's not a fair question, but do you know if Android has these kinds of limitations? Because I feel like I just don't experience that particular problem on Android.
I wouldn't have thought so, but I'm not. Dave probably knows a bit more about this.
I think it kind of works in a similar enough way. There may be a few ways in which it's less restricted, but it's pretty much a similar thing. And I think there's certain use cases which we don't have full support, and that we can't always provide the content. I think it's encrypted rooms. When you get keyword or mention notifications, we can't actually display the content of them at this point in time. But hopefully, stuff's in the works.
E2E, it gets in the way of everything, doesn't it? Oh dear. All right, let's move on. Stefan, you've been, is it 2 months as well? Did you guys all start around the same time? Am I confused?
We did, yeah. I started at the end of May, beginning of June. Almost slightly 3 months, but yeah.
So I've been working a little bit more with you because we've been doing some customer work.
We have, yes.
And you had a proud release recently, so why don't you talk through what you've been doing?
I assume you mean voice messages, right? Yeah, exactly. That was the first thing I did was logging, and then boom, voice messages, and that was a really fun one to do because I got to touch all of the app basically and learn everything from the protocol to the UI and see how everything fits together. And it was a challenging task in itself because of all the media and the conversions and the waveforms and recordings and everything. So it was a really nice introduction to the Element.
Yeah. And
I'm happy that I managed to get it out, and it's sort of working, and people seem to be enjoying it without raising too many bugs.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? I thought that there was going to be a lot of, there's often a 1.1 release for things, and voice messages haven't suffered from that. So that's
we kept it in beta under a labs feature for a release, and then we had one more fix in it after the official release, but it wasn't. I mean, it didn't show up for a lot of people, and it seemed solid in general. So
yeah, that's
cool.
Great. Congrats. So what are you working on next? What's your next thing?
At the moment, I'm working on device rehydration. I need to finish up what our colleague Gilles started, and we have a bit of problems with cross-signing keys and trusting our key backups. But we're hopeful to get it working maybe as soon as next week.
Yes.
And after that, I don't know. We'll find something else.
I
something
know.
nice for me to
Actually,
work on.
I think we
Oh,
have
you do
ideas.
know.
I do. I don't. I know.
Of course.
We need to make plans. So it's interesting to note here that Doug is working on the platform. He's working on the paper cuts, and he's trying to improve the foundation of the application. Whereas Stefan and I think Dave as well, you're working on customer features. So there's a slight split in the team there. Dave, what have you been doing? Because you've actually been doing something quite high level too.
Yeah, so I started out kind of working on a few smaller pieces. Then I worked on notifications, which was across iOS and Android, bringing some of those kind of settings that were available previously only to be edited on desktop. You can now do across kind of the 3 clients. And now I'm kind of working on kind of some of our new SwiftUI infrastructure.
So iOS fans are going to know all about this. What does it mean?
Yeah, so SwiftUI and I suppose Combine as well are 2 new Apple frameworks. If you're familiar with things like React, it's very closely along those lines. It's a declarative component-driven framework that's driven by state, and it's the tooling and everything that they've released around it is really nice. They've kind of really built it from the ground up. There's things like live previews, so that when you're coding, you can have a live preview of what you're changing at the same time, all built within the IDE.
Oh wow! No more interface builder errors. No?
Yeah. So there's a lot of productivity kind of benefits to it, reliability. It's nice when you're kind of working with designers and stuff. It gives a real component focus to how you think about things and break stuff up. So it's I think through all the discussions we've had internally, we felt it's something we wanted to move towards in the kind of medium term. So we've actually the notifications feature that we built in iOS was the first production feature that we're releasing. That's SwiftUI, and then we're planning that like a lot of new features, kind of net new features that don't have an existing equivalent in the app, are going to be kind of developed on top of SwiftUI as well.
Gotcha. What is the relationship between SwiftUI and Swift?
So SwiftUI is the component framework for building it. So UIKit was the old framework. SwiftUI is the new one. And Swift is the language that it's all built on.
Gotcha. So does that mean that new components will also be built in Swift rather than Objective-C?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've kind of been building on top of Swift for.
Oh right. Okay. I hadn't realised that. Okay. I just in the rare occasions I have to touch iOS, it's like a foreign language to me to see all this stuff. Too much NS, too much decorations.
None of that anymore.
No,
you should see the new code.
Yeah, it's a new era. Maybe I should get used to the new Apple development stack. All right, chaps, it's been really fantastic to chat to you. Is there anything that you wanted to add or say?
Thank you.
Stunned silence. No, sometimes it's difficult with a group. All right, brilliant. In that case, thanks very much. Thank you, Matrix Live.
Thank you.
All.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.